Hello everybody, welcome to the channel, welcome to the video if you're new. My name is Jake and today we're going to be looking at the new features announced for FM21. It's coming out in around a month now I believe, and obviously the beta comes out 2 weeks before, so it's definitely just around the corner, and I'm sure that Sports Interactive are going to elaborate on these features some more in the coming weeks. But from the video they released recently, it looks like we're getting a lot more features than a lot of us expected. Obviously with coronavirus, Sports Interactive were having to make this from home, and they are a fairly small team compared to some other developers, so the fact that they've still been able to add some good features to this game this year is really impressive. So I thought we'd just make this quick video to go over the features and get a look at what might be coming up this year in FM21. I would also like to say we are getting close to 185 subscribers. My target for the end of this month is 190. So if you do enjoy these videos or you want to see FM content in the future, there's going to be videos about the best Wonder Kids, the best tactics, tutorials, and obviously our on-running series. It will have whichever team it will be. I will say now that we are doing the beta save with Chelsea. I know a lot of the people subscribed to this channel are Chelsea fans, so I'm going to do them for the beta save but not for the long-term save, and I think we're going to do 2 seasons with Chelsea with the aim of winning the Champions League. So if you'd be interested in seeing that, hit that subscribe button, like the video if you enjoy it or you learn anything new, so we can push it out to more people and try and grow the channel. So I hope you do enjoy, and let's get into the features. So the first thing that I noticed in the video when I originally watched it, and a lot of people have picked up on this too, we can see here that there is actually the Leicester City official badge. Now to most people this won't mean much, but obviously in Football Manager they don't have the licenses to most teams. I think they've got the Bundesliga, the Eredivisie, and a few of the other smaller leagues and the odd team here and there, but in the Premier League they've never really had anyone. I know that last year they did have Watford, but obviously Watford have been relegated now, so maybe they've got money to spend on another Premier League team, or maybe this means that we're going to get Premier League licenses across the board. Realistically, I don't think they will have got the licenses for everyone because it would have been a hell of a lot of money, but it's nice to see that they are picking up these licenses across the board. I would set my expectations low and assume it would only be Leicester or maybe Leicester and a couple of other clubs, but I wouldn't expect the full league. Now you would expect that that would mean that not only will you have a Leicester badge, but you also have the pictures on all the Leicester players and all them little things that just make the game a bit more immersive. I don't think it's the most crazy deal like some people make out, but it just does add to the immersion a little bit if we can start picking up them licenses and Football Manager can basically just grow. Obviously it is coming onto Xbox and Epic Games Store, so maybe they have made enough money to buy Premier League licenses, which will hopefully make the game look a bit more professional, a bit more polished, and bring in new players. And now we've got a bit more of an update to the scouting / transfer system, which is always nice to see. It's one of my favourite sections of the game, obviously when you can go out and sign them players and find them players that no one else has picked up on yet. Obviously the point of this video, it's meant to be a quick 1-minute preview where it zooms through everything, so you're not meant to see much, but from what we can see here there was like a board with all the different positions, and you, the player, can basically select, say, wing back and say, okay, I want to look for a wing back that has good crossing, blah 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 blah, which is already something that was in the game, but it was kind of like one of them things we had to click through a few menus to get to it. So it looks like these recruitment meetings, I think they're going to be called, will be a really useful feature where, like when you get your scouts reports back at the end of a week or a month, whatever you've got it set to, you can have a recruitment meeting where you can say, okay, in this week of the transfer window I want you just to look for a wing back, let's say, or maybe it works differently where at the start of a transfer window you can set your targets where you can say to your scouting team, I only want you to scout for a wing back and a striker. That's what we're looking for at the end of this transfer window. And maybe how it will work will be that the scouts keep your budget in mind. Say you have a £40 million budget, they might try and find a way where you can get a wing back and a striker for £40 million if that's what you're looking for, rather than just the usual thing where it's like, oh, you can get Mbappe when you're playing as like Southend. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, it'll be really interesting when we find out more about this feature, how it does work, whether they do, like I say, keep your budget in mind and try and work out a system where you can get all the players you want within a certain budget and just give you targets that fit that. That would be really cool if they had something extra like that. If it just is like a menu that's now brought out in front of you, like just a meeting basically. Obviously you could already identify targets, so and if it is just like a bit of a UI change, then that's fair enough, but if they could add a few extra features, then that would be brilliant. The next thing we can see here is a feature where you can now ask an agent about a player's availability, which probably means you can go behind the player's club's back to like gauge their interest if they'd be interested in the moves, to save you going through them processes where you spend £40 million you bid over weeks and weeks to get a striker, the other team finally say yes, and then the player decides he doesn't want to join. And it could also maybe unsettle the player too, so maybe you could go in and see if Paul Pogba does want to leave Manchester United. He says he does, then obviously Manchester United hear about this, he gets a bit cheaper, that kind of thing. It causes some unsettlement, maybe that's the aim behind it. It's just a cool new feature. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but at least it's an extra interesting thing to add, and hopefully it will just add to that little bit more immersion in the game and make it more realistic, because obviously that does happen quite a lot in real life now, especially with the big teams, where they go behind someone's back and just ask the agent, and it starts stirring up media reports, and then all of a sudden a move happens. Okay, the next thing, obviously, like I said, they did purposely like zoom through the video so you couldn't see it, but what we can see here, the media center, where rather than just getting interviews from journalists, it looks like you might be able to pick between different journalists who you talk to. It's like a board of journalists all asking different questions, and you can go into it and talk about it more. Obviously I haven't updated press conferences for at least the last 5 years when I've been playing, probably longer than that, and they are really boring. So if they can add just a few extra things to make them more interesting like this, then fair enough. If it is just the fact that you can just pick what questions you answer, probably isn't very interesting. If they can add more dialogue options, more unique like press stories coming out and stuff. But obviously we don't know the exact details yet. I imagine over the coming weeks they will go into further detail about these new features. And obviously, like the video says, it is just a preview, but these are things that we can learn so far, and it looks like press conferences are getting a bit of an overhaul. The next thing we see is it basically says like, oh, you can change your tactics, and it says drop deeper, and then we get this little message appear, agree, disagree. Now obviously we do have a thing in the game where the assistant manager can come in the middle of a match, say to you, oh, we're overrunning midfield, you need to change this and this. But what I think this looks like is some kind of like pre-game thing where your coaches and maybe even your players will come to you and suggest tactics. Say you're playing Manchester City and they have two pacey wingers, let's say, that you're really afraid of. Maybe in today's tactic it will say drop the fullbacks back a little bit, and you can just straight away agree or disagree without having to do much to your tactic at all. It will automatically do it. Could be quite interesting, quite unique for like starting players when they're not too immersed in the tactics, not fully understanding how everything works. This can really help someone out, and it can also give your assistant manager and your coaches a little bit extra use. I think it will be really interesting. I have heard other people say it, but it really does get my mind going about if it could work where players will say you're playing a fullback who is very defensive minded as say a wing back, or putting him on an attacking duty. Maybe he can say before the match, boss, I would rather play as a defensive, and you can agree or disagree to basically match that player's needs. That would be interesting if they do that, and I think that would be the best way to go about it. I think something like that could be very interesting, but we'll see if that's what they are going for. This is just like a small thing that appears for a few seconds, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. Okay, the next feature is one that all the memes are about. It's to do like how your player interactions go. Obviously it used to be you'd be like, oh, well done on your goal, and the player would be like, I don't like you. That basically seemed to be how everything went. Obviously that's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be like, oh, good game, and then the player says, oh, thanks boss, and then it improves their morale. But it seems they've changed that kind of system here and introduced some kind of body language thing. All the memes at the minute are about this, that you can now hug players in Football Manager. Who would have guessed it? But basically it says here, hi boss, do you want a word? And then you speak to him, you open your arms, and it appears to improve their body language. Maybe it's just ways that you can make sure that certain conversations go your way. Say you do want to send a player out on loan, but you don't want to like break the news to him just straight up you're going out on loan. Maybe you can like hug them, whatever, and it will make them more like open to the idea. I don't really know how it's going to work. This is something that I am interested to hear more details about, because it just seems like a very stupid thing and something that's just like a dialogue change, yet they have put it in this video and made it like quite an important thing in the video. So if it's a brand new feature where you can actually do like more interesting things in terms of player interactions, then brilliant. If it's just that they've changed the wording around on some stuff, then not so good, but we'll see what happens. Now, a thing that I don't understand too much, to be honest, it's XG, which is something that hasn't been in Football Manager before, but is used a lot when people talk about player stats. It's expected goals, so it can kind of show you like if you think your striker's out of form, let's say where he hasn't scored in 2 games, 3 games, but his XG is quite high, that likely means that he's actually done pretty well. He's had quite a lot of like expected goal chances. Maybe the opposition goalkeeper was just in really good form, so it can just give you more of like an in-depth look at actual statistics. Although the reason I'm not like too hyped about it is there was already clear-cut chances in the game, so that might already give you an example of like expected goals. I guess they're a bit different. I don't really know like the differences between these statistics. I'm not too like deep into the tactics on this game. I don't go into the heat maps and everything, but I'm sure for some people this would be great news. Just for me, I just don't really understand it. But I think when they do add extra depth into these statistics and stuff, no one can really complain. If people do use them, then brilliant. If not, then it's not for you to worry about really. Then we see basically a clip of actual in-game matches. Now it doesn't look like much different in my opinion. It just looks like they've moved some things around. If they have updated the game engine, then fair enough. From what I can see here, the fans do look in more detail than before. I might be jumping the gun there. I do have my graphics settings on low. Maybe my computer just can't handle it. I do like the new way it's laid out though. I think it's a lot cleaner, looks a lot better, but obviously if it is just like moving a few bars around and moving the pause button into the right instead of the left, not that big of a deal, but they do show it. Maybe they have changed the match engine like we all wanted to. Maybe they haven't. I was also wondering maybe this is like a Bundesliga specific thing. I mean, you do have it on FIFA where if you play in certain leagues you get like different overlay boards and different commentary styles. If you look in the top left of the image, you can see a Bundesliga logo, which makes me think, and it is a Bundesliga game too, maybe it's like a Bundesliga themed package where it's like how it's presented in Germany. Maybe not. I might be like going too much into it here. Maybe it is just a change of like graphics, which if so, fair enough. But a lot of people have picked up that there is no text commentary. I think text commentary will still be there. It's just the fact that they're not showing it. You could probably turn it on in a setting because it just makes the like image look cleaner to show off new people on a trailer. I just don't think they're going to put text commentary in a trailer, but I'm sure it's still there. If you click the settings button, you could get it back on. And then the final thing it shows is just this like quick screen where you can see like your biggest win, your highest scoring match, your goal of the season, all stuff that you could have seen before in Football Manager. They just laid it out in quite a nice, neat way. Again, not a major feature, but a cool thing for them to add. And I think from all the stuff that we've seen there, the thing I'm most excited about is licensing, if they have got it for multiple teams. If it's just for Leicester, then fair enough. And then my attention turns more towards that recruitment thing where you can like select certain targets for a window, because I think that could be really interesting. But obviously we don't know too many details yet. By the time this is uploaded, maybe they've released more. So hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any Football Manager news. If you did enjoy today's video, hit a like button and comment down below what feature you're most looking forward to in the new Football Manager. I hope you have enjoyed the video, guys. I hope to see you in the next one, and goodbye.